The Trees Are Down by Charlotte Mew, 1869 to 1928. And he cried with a loud voice, "Hurt not the earth, neither the sea nor the trees." From Revelation. They are cutting down the great plane trees at the end of the gardens. For days there has been the grate of the saw, the swish of the branches as they fall, the crash of the trunks, the rustle of trodden leaves, with the whoops and the whooahs, the loud common talk, the loud common laughs of the men above it all. I remember one evening of a long past spring, turning in at a gate, getting out of a cart, and finding a large dead rat in the mud of the drive. I remember thinking, alive or dead, a rat was a God-forsaken thing, but at least in May that even a rat should be alive. This week's work here is as good as done. There is just one bough on the roped bowl in the fine grey rain, green and high against the lonely sky. Down now. And but for that, if an old dead rat did once for a moment unmake the spring, I might never have thought of him again. It is not for a moment the spring is unmade today. These were great trees. It was in them from root to stem. When the men with the whoops and the woos have carted the whole of the whispering lovely away, half of the spring for me will have gone with them. It is going now, and my heart has been struck with the hearts of these plains. Half of my life it has beat with these in the sun and in the rains, in the March wind, in the May breeze, in the great gales that came over to them across the roofs from the great seas. There was only a quiet rain when they were dying. They must have heard the sparrows flying, and the small creeping creatures in the earth where they were lying. But all day I heard an angel crying, "Hurt not the trees." Okay, this is a poem by Charlotte Mew. Let's see, Charlotte Mew came from London. She was born and brought up in Bloomsbury, in Euston Square. And she's a Victorian poet, but also a modernist poet. She's between the two. She was greatly admired by Thomas Hardy, by Virginia Woolf, and by Siegfried Sassoon. Okay, this poem is about the cutting down of some great plane trees at in Euston Square Gardens in the 1920s. So there's some great big plane trees, and they were cut down. I don't know why. And this poem is about the cutting down of these trees and how unhappy she is at their destruction. The trees are down, it says it all. And he cried with a loud voice, "Hurt not the earth, neither the sea nor the trees." Now this is from the book of Revelation, from the Bible. And this is an angel speaking, and the angel is saying, "Don't hurt the trees." that it's man's duty to look after the trees, to look after the earth, and this is an example of man destroying the trees. And here, this is an injunction not to do it. It's interesting that this idea of looking after the trees, of looking after nature, protesting against what man is doing against nature, is something that has gone on for a very long time. In a way, this poem reminds me a bit of Binsey Poplars by Manley Hopkins, which is about the cutting down of some poplar trees by the river in Oxford. They are cutting down the great plane trees at the end of the gardens. Okay, they're cutting down the trees. For days there has been the grate of the saw and the swish of the branches as they fall. So the saws have been cutting, and the swish of the branches as they're falling down. The crash of the trunks, the rustle of trodden leaves. So we hear the trunks crashing down. We hear people walking over the leaves. With the whoops and the woos, the loud common talk, the loud common laughs of the men above it all. So the men who are actually cutting down the trees, they are, well, they're happy. They're enjoying their work. I think that they are happy to work. And she's contrasting these noises of the trees being cut down, of the cruelty that these trees are being subjected to, and this is juxtaposed with the shouts and the happy banter of the men, the heartless attitude of the men who are cutting down the trees. So there's here clearly that man is insensitive to the death of these trees. I remember one evening of a long past spring, turning in at a gate, getting out of the cart and finding a large dead rat in the mud of the drive. So she remembers a spring where she found a large dead rat lying on the ground. I remember thinking, alive or dead, a rat was a God-forsaken thing, but at least in May that even a rat should be alive. So she found this dead rat, and she's found it in May, in the spring, and she's thinking that, yeah, a rat is a horrible thing, but even a rat has the right to be alive, the right to live through spring, because spring is the month of rebirth, the month of regeneration. And she's thinking of a spring a long time ago, and clearly it's spring when they're cutting the plane trees. And she's thinking that even this rat should have the right to be alive, that even a rat, even a horrible, disgusting rat, has the right to be alive. So how could they cut down these beautiful trees, which are much more than a rat? Because she's remembering this rat and thinking, well, this dead rat, that's a poor thing. This week's work here is as good as done. There is just one bough on the roped bowl in the fine grain rain, green and high and lonely against the sky. So the work is almost done. They've almost finished, and there is just one bough on the roped bowl. So the bowl is the trunk of the tree, and there is just one bough sticking out. And the tree has been roped. The tree is covered in rope. So this is showing that the trees or nature is in bondage uh, to man, and the tree is green and high and beautiful, yeah, and sticks up into the sky. It's almost connected with heaven because it's going up into the sky. And then there's this grey rain that's coming down, this grey rain, and this is showing how she feels. I think the grey rain is reflecting her emotions and how she feels, that this green high tree, this tall tree that goes up to heaven, is going to be cut, is roped, and is coming down now. It's been cut. And but for that, if an old dead rat did once for a moment unmake the spring, I might have never thought of him again. And she's thinking of this rat again, the fact that if the rat should have the right to live during the spring, during the rebirth of spring, she would have probably, if it hadn't been in spring, she would have never thought of it again. And she's thinking about how people can kill these wonderful trees, and it's thinking about the relationship between humans and the environment. It is not for a moment the spring is unmade today. So the death of these trees is showing that the destruction of spring, the destruction of nature, man trying to be more important than nature. These were great trees. It was in them from root to stem. So they were spring, and man is trying to kill spring. Man is trying to kill nature. Man is above nature. And this is the unmaking of spring. When the men with the whoops and the woos have carted the whole of the whispering loveliness away, half the spring for me will have gone with them. And when they take away these beautiful trees, then they are taking away spring. And again, we've got these men with their whoops and their woos. They're happy in their work, and they're taking away the beauty of the trees. They're taking away the trees, and this is almost perhaps talking about the inevitability of death. That death is something that is everywhere. That destruction by man is everywhere. It's going now, and my heart has been struck with the heart of the plains. So it's finished. The work is finished. And my heart has been cut down like the hearts of the plane trees. Half my life it has beat with these in the suns and the rain. So she has been with these trees for half her life. And the landscape, this is talking about how the landscape is part of us, the world that we live in. And these trees have been there all through her life. And the killing of these trees is like taking away of half of her life. And these are something natural. Half my life it has beat with these, in the sun, in the rains, in the March wind, in the May breeze, in the great gales that came over to them across the roofs from the great seas. So these trees, these have been part of her life, like the wind, like the weather, like the sun, like the rain, and there is part of her essence, part of her spirit in the landscape that has been destroyed. There was only a quiet rain when they were dying. So this rain, it's as if the weather is crying as the trees are dying. They must have heard the sparrows flying and the small creeping creatures in the earth where they were lying. So when these trees, they must have heard the sparrows. They must have heard the animals in the earth as they were cut down, as they were lying on the earth. But I all day heard an angel crying, "Hurt not the trees." And as all day she's hearing this sound, "Don't hurt the trees." An angel of God saying, "Look after our planet, look after our environment." That this is something that we must do. And I think this poem is talking about destruction, the destruction of man, that man destroying things, that everything is touched by death, and that this is a painful thing, and that we should fight against untimely death, like the untimely death of the rat and the untimely death of the trees. So, The Trees Are Down by Charlotte Mew.